Today on Sports Central, we'll be going over a college football game preview on one of the biggest SEC games of the first week of SEC action, and it's going to be between Kentucky and Auburn. And of course, both of these teams are expected to be pretty good going into 2020. Of course, you got Auburn with Bo Nix. They're looking to be a top 15 team this season. Meanwhile, Kentucky, on the other hand, with having their injured players back, it could be a big season for them as well. So this is going to be a pretty important game in determining who is going to be the better team this season. And it's going to be in Auburn as well. And today we're going to be going over a full game prediction and preview on this game as we look forward to week number 4 of the 2020 college football season. So with that, this game's going to be on Saturday, September 26th, noon Eastern, and it's going to be in Auburn, Alabama. So it will be in Auburn for this game. Spread currently says Auburn by 10.5, and this is being recorded pretty early on in the week, so there is a good chance that spread will change as the week goes on. But Auburn's also favored quite a bit in the ESPN FPI. They're actually favored 85% there. Then Vegas is saying 29-28, Auburn gets the win. So I mean, yeah, all three sources are saying Auburn gets the win here, which is really no surprise. I mean, they were clearly the better team last season, but this season in general, I think Kentucky, especially with having, once again, their injured players back, this could be a season for Kentucky that they could definitely be a big contender in the SEC, and they could possibly pull off a few pretty big upsets. So, once again, watch out for Kentucky this season. They are not a team that you want to sleep on by any means, especially if you're an SEC team playing them. But as far as your stat comparison goes, these are your 2019 final stats. Of course, we don't have any games under the belt for either of these teams so far this season, so we're having to go off of 2019 right now. But as far as points per game, Auburn definitely was a better team last season with 34 points. As far as points allowed, though, it was pretty similar for both teams. Auburn actually had 18.6. Meanwhile, Kentucky, on their other hand, had 18.4. So, yeah, those were your points allowed per game. And then as far as pass yards go per game, Kentucky only had 117. They were not a passing team last season at all. I mean, this team rushed, if anything. I mean, you had Lynn Bowden, of course, at quarterback, and he rushed most of the time. So, yeah, that was a clear and obvious reason why their rushing yards per game was at 274 last season. You know, once again, I mean, with Terry Wilson being injured, and they just had a lot of quarterback injuries last season, and that was a main reason why we only saw 117 pass yards per game out of them. But nonetheless, I mean, as far as yards allowed go, they allowed 172 pass yards and then 148 rush yards last season. As far as it goes for Auburn, though, they had 34 points per game, so overall very good, especially for an SEC team. They had 18.6 points allowed per game. As far as pass yards go, 210, and then for rush yards, they had 211 per game. So, yeah, they were pretty balanced there between the passing and the rushing game. Of course, Bo Nix at quarterback, he had a great true freshman season in 2019, so he is someone that I would say you got to watch out for going into this season. He is definitely an underrated quarterback that I think should be watched out for quite a bit. But as far as yards allowed go, of course, they allowed 208 pass yards and 115 rush yards last season. So overall, their rushing defense was pretty good last year. It was just the passing defense that could definitely need some improvements going into this season. But yeah, that's what your stat comparison looks like all around, I'd say. I mean, there are two key differences between both of these teams. Obviously, I'd say these two teams were very different in many ways last season. Once again, with Kentucky being a very rush-heavy team, and then you had Auburn on the other hand that really relied on Bo Nix last season in the passing game as well. So, yeah, both teams were very different. It's going to be fun to see how these two teams match up here in this one. But as far as your key points go, of course, Bo Nix, now with a year of experience, that could be very good for him, certainly. I mean, knowing how well he did last season, especially with the pressure of being in a big-time SEC team, yeah, it's gonna be big for him to have a year of experience now. And if Kentucky stays healthy, I mean, once again, we saw Kentucky in 2018. They were a very good team, and the main reason for that was because of how injury-free they were. But last season they could have easily been a 9 or 10 win team, but the problem was for them was how injured they were. I mean, once again, with the quarterback situation, it just was really weird for them, and they basically had a running back at the quarterback position for a good majority of last season, so that was a big reason why Kentucky just could not have a good season. But all around, they had a great finish to the 2019 season, so you can't forget about that. I mean, I think they had a 4-game winning streak for the remainder of the season in 2019, so they looked pretty good, especially in November and in the later parts of that season. But Auburn in general, I would say, has the more upside between both of these teams. I mean, with Bo Nix at quarterback, very young quarterback with a lot of talent. And then you got a team as well in general that's got a lot of talent. I mean, yeah, Auburn's looking very good going into the season. So I'd say Auburn's got a lot more upside this season coming to this game. But Kentucky, watch out for them. Once again, they're not a team that you want to be slept on. I mean, they've got a lot of potential and a lot of talent too, especially if Terry Wilson can have a big season after being injured. I mean, as injured as he's been, I mean, that's just going to be something that's going to be talked about a lot this year, is how Terry Wilson's going to do, especially with how injury prone he is. And I mean, if he can refrain from the injuries and if he can stay injury free, once again, this Kentucky team could be a team to watch out for. I mean, they could be a top 25 team this season if they can stay healthy. They've got the potential for that for sure. I mean, yeah, they're definitely a team to watch out for, and that's why this could be a pretty big game this upcoming week, especially if Kentucky hangs around and possibly gives Auburn a huge upset. But that's not really what I'm expecting here. This is my game prediction for this one. I think your halftime score is going to be 17-10. Auburn gets the lead. I think it's going to be a pretty low scoring first half, but I think it really picks up in the second half. We're going to see a big shootout in the second half in this one. Auburn gets the win by 11 in the end, 38-27. But I think Kentucky, they're going to be pretty sneaky in this game. I don't think we see Kentucky lead for a good majority of this game. I don't think that Kentucky is going to be your main leader here, but I think Auburn's definitely going to be, I mean, they're going to be kind of snuck on by Kentucky. I think Kentucky for sure is definitely going to hang around in this one, and possibly in the second half they could give Auburn some issues. But once again, in the end, I've got Auburn winning this one. I think Auburn's just too good for Kentucky for this game, especially with it being the first game of the season. I mean, possibly if it was later on in the season, and possibly if it wasn't Kentucky, maybe I would take Kentucky in this one. But I think just with it being the first game of the season, I'm just much more certain with Auburn than I am with Kentucky. So I'm going to go with Auburn here, and I'm going to take Bo Nix to take this team to a big win in week number 1 for the SEC. 38-27 is going to be your final score here. It's going to be more of a moderate to a high-scoring game. Auburn's going to get the win in the end, however. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below on this game, though. If you enjoyed this preview, be sure to slap a like on it and subscribe as well. Really helps out the channel. I'd really appreciate that. But as always, thanks again for watching, guys. Be sure to stay tuned for more from All Sports Central. And also, yeah, once again, let me know your score predictions in the comments below. I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts on this game, too. Then again, thanks again for watching, guys. Stay tuned for more. I'll see you all later.